The anime begins with a man named Subaru Natsuki, who is shopping for food at the supermarket, and when he gets out of there, he feels something tugging at his body. When he rubbed his eyes, suddenly, he was in another world called Isekai. Even though he was shocked, Subaru felt happy because he hoped he would have power in that world, but in reality, he didn't have any power. He continued walking through the world until he stopped at one of the fruit shops guarded by a man named Katomon. He wanted to buy the fruit using his money from Japan, but Katomon refused and kicked him out. After that, Subaru tried to enter several other places, but he was still rejected, and some even threw him into the river. With what happened to him, Subaru was annoyed that things didn't turn out as he expected. Not long after, 3 men who were criminals approached him. At the same time, a girl came running towards him but just passed by. Subaru, who was feeling annoyed, immediately hit the 3 men, but one of the men pulled out a knife that made him surrender. He ended up tortured by the 3 men. Not long after, came a woman named Amelia, looking for a thief who had taken her valuables. The 3 men also told her the woman she was looking for ran that way. However, because she felt sorry for Subaru, who was being tortured, she helped him, causing the 3 men to run in fear at the sight of her spirit, Puck. Upon awakening, Subaru was asked by Amelia about the thief. Even she accused him of colluding with the thief. He denied her accusations. After knowing he was telling the truth, she left him and went back to looking for the thief again. Puck was still seen with Subaru. Puck explains that Amelia is hard to tell the truth when she needs help. As a result, he chases after her and helps her find her lost item. But Amelia insists that she will not give anything in return. He replied that he didn't mind that either, he only asked for one request. After Amelia agreed, they searched the area for her. Unfortunately, their search was fruitless that day. Soon afterward, they chose to rest for a while, getting acquainted first. At that time, Amelia said her name was Satella, while Subaru gave his real name. Then they went back to looking for the thief. On the way, they saw a girl who seemed separated from her parents. At first, they both debated whether to help her or not because they had little time. But the kind-hearted Amelia chose to approach her and wanted to help her, but the girl was crying and scared to see Amelia. Seeing that, Subaru walked over to the 2 of them. He performed a simple magic trick and managed to make the girl smile. Afterward, they asked the girl to go with them while look for her parents. On the way, the girl was found by her mother and returned home with her. After that, Subaru and Amelia decided to rest again on a bridge. There she admits that she is a hybrid type of elf race. After hearing that, Subaru complimented her on her beauty and make Amelia uncomfortable. Then Puck appears, and Amelia tells them to look for the thief again. Subaru suggested they go to the theft scene in front of Katomon's fruit shop. Arriving there, Katomon was still scolding Subaru. Suddenly, the child appeared, who turned out to be the daughter of Katomon. As a result, he wanted to help Subaru because he had helped his daughter. Katomon gave them a sketch of the face of a woman named Felt. They tried to go to her house, although they still didn't know the exact location of her house. Puck feels the city is scary and exhausted enough to search through the area. After that, Puck, who only had time to work from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., finally fell asleep and became a crystal. Even so, Amelia and Subaru continued their search. On their way to meet one of the residents, Subaru asked about the position of Felt's house. The man replied that Felt lived with her grandfather, Ram, at the end of the road. Then they went there. Once there, Subaru entered alone while Amelia waited outside. When he entered the house, it was dark and filled with antiques. After that, he accidentally stepped on the blood and saw the corpse of someone who had just died. Suddenly, someone tried to attack him from behind. After hearing the commotion, Amelia rushed in until she was hit and died. Not long after that, surprisingly, Subaru returned to the front of the fruit shop earlier. He felt confused because everything looked real, but his body looked intact even though he had felt that his stomach had been stabbed by a sharp object. He thought about going to the storehouse again, but ran into 3 thugs yesterday. He thought they had met twice, but the 3 men felt it was the first time they had met him. Since Subaru was in a hurry, he immediately beat them up and rushed off to the storage shed. Once there, Subaru knocked on the door of the house. When the door opened, he saw Ram, who was dead yesterday. Ram invites him in, and the 2 of them converse. Subaru says his purpose for coming there. He wants to find a badge with a jewel in it, but Ram says he doesn't have such an item. But soon, a girl who is like a granddaughter to him will come there and bring a very expensive object, which may be the item he is looking for. Seeing Subaru bringing food that is unusual, Ram asked for his food and devoured it. After that, Subaru waited for Felt until the afternoon outside. When Felt arrived, he seemed to know her so well that she was confused, because she thought they were meeting for the first time. After that, they negotiated in the house, but because he didn't have the money, he finally asked for barter with his cell phone that could take pictures. According to Ram, the phone could be worth as much as 20 coins because it's rare, but Felt still thought twice because some wanted to buy it too. Soon, a woman named Elsa Granhair came. They hold negotiations. Elsa bids a price of 20 coins for the badge, but Ram says the phone's worth can be more than 20 coins. As a result, Subaru wins, and Elsa admits defeat. After being asked what the badge was for, Subaru said he would return it to its original owner. Hearing that, Elsa thought Subaru was part of Emilia's camp. When she attacks Subaru, Ram tries to help him. Unfortunately, his strength is nothing compared to her, then he dies. Afterward, Elsa killed Felt with just one hit. Now all that was left was Subaru. The two of them fought until he was killed by Elsa's attack. But strangely, he returned to life and was in front of Kataman's fruit shop again. The confused Subaru finally leaned back limply. As soon as Emilia passed in front of him, Subaru called out her name as Sotella. Hearing that, she got angry and didn't seem to recognize him either. Not long after that, Felt appeared and stole her badge, where Emilia blamed Subaru and she went after Felt. Unfortunately, Felt managed to escape. Then the three men arrived again, but when Subaru tried to break through them, one of the men accidentally stabbed him to death. He came back to life and was in front of the fruit shop again. After that, he realized he had the power to return by death. He tried to reassess what happened because everything would happen again and again after he died. Subaru then decided to save the people that were about to be killed. He went to Kataman to ask about the theft that had just occurred. Kataman only said that the thief was using magic, so Subaru immediately looked for the thief's whereabouts. But the three men came again to stop him. However, Subaru didn't want to be provoked, and now he called the guards in the city. Sadly, no one heard. But soon, a man named Reinhard Vanistria appeared, dubbed the Sword Saint. Seeing him coming, the three men left without any resistance. Subaru was very grateful, but Reinhard was humble. At first, Subaru wanted to ask for his help, but for fear of causing trouble, he only left a message if he met a woman named Emilia. After that, Subaru came to the location again. After being told he had gone there, he asked a man about Felt's house. On the way, he accidentally bumps into Elsa and immediately feels frightened. She sensed that Subaru was both scared and excited about her. Luckily, she ignored that and left immediately. Then he continued his journey until he arrived at Felt's house. While Subaru was checking Felt's house, suddenly, she was behind him, causing a misunderstanding. She attacks him until her house collapses. After that, Subaru explained that he wanted the badge she had stolen and exchanged it for his cell phone that could take pictures. They intended to negotiate there, but Felt asked him to meet Ram. After the meeting, negotiations ensued, and Ram had a deal with the barter. But Felt still didn't want to negotiate because she was suspicious of Subaru, who seemed rushed. Afterward, Subaru said he would return the badge to its original owner, but Felt still didn't believe it. It wasn't long before someone knocked on the door. Subaru had just asked her not to open the door, but Felt had already opened it. It turned out that it was Emilia who came. Then an argument broke out between her and Felt in the house. Emilia tried to get her badge back, but Felt still wouldn't give it back, and they both blamed Subaru instead. Soon, Elsa appeared from behind Emilia. Luckily, Emilia could instantly create a protective shield and save herself. Because the owner of the badge was there, Elsa changed her plans. Emilia, assisted by Puck, immediately attacked her without stopping until it was 5 p.m. when Puck fell asleep. Before leaving, Puck tried to use his last attack. Unfortunately, his attack meant nothing to Elsa. Then he disappeared, and now Emilia was left alone. She was overwhelmed with her. Ram, who saw this, immediately attacked Elsa. Several punches from him still didn't work against her, and Elsa was able to take advantage of the gap to attack Ram. Felt tried to help him, but her attack hit Ram, and even Subaru almost got hit by her attack. She told them to run away if they had the chance, but instead, Subaru was willing to try to confront Elsa. Shortly after, Subaru distracted Elsa so Felt could escape while he and Emilia were still fighting. Unfortunately, now the position of the two of them has been very cornered because they have no other ultimate power. He tried to attack her again. Elsa could still fend off his attacks and she was about to kill Subaru. But fortunately, Reinhard appeared. Emilia healed Ram, who was dying, while Reinhard was still conversing with Elsa. Reinhard, a sword saint, said he would not use his sword. He only used the swords around her to block her attack while waiting for Emilia to finish treating Ram. When Emilia was done, Reinhard sprang into action and cast his magic, which with just one swing of the sword, could destroy half the house. Because of that, Subaru was very grateful to Reinhard for helping him twice. Reinhard explained he could get there thanks to information from Felt, who was looking for help. Not long after, Elsa, who was still alive, reappeared from behind. She still hadn't given up and was still trying to kill Emilia. Luckily, Subaru managed to fend off her attack, then she ran away. Feeling that he had helped Emilia, Subaru made one request of her, to know her real name. Hearing that, she laughed instead and told him her real name, Emilia. Soon after, his stomach bleeds from Elsa's unconscious attack. As a result, he faints, and Emilia immediately heals him. At the same time, Reinhard felt strange towards Subaru, even though Emilia didn't know Subaru yet, but Subaru already knew her. Reinhard intended to take the three of them away, but Amelia decided to take care of them. Just as Fel was about to return her badge, Reinhard's expression suddenly changed as he sensed something was wrong. Then Reinhard knocked her unconscious and carried her away. Long story short, Subaru was already at Amelia's residence. He immediately left the room to look around, but after walking for quite a while, his position just circled. Finally, Subaru decided to enter one of the doors beside him. Upon opening, it turns out to be a library room guarded by a woman named Beatrice. There, he teased Beatrice. She was annoyed and then shocked him with her magic until Subaru couldn't breathe. After that, Subaru suddenly woke up and was in the room earlier. He was awakened by two twin maidservants named Rem and Ram. Not long after Amelia came, she wore a dress that looked very beautiful. He invites her to exercise outdoors together, followed by Puck's emergence from his slumber. Puck had thought Amelia would never return, but she was saved thanks to Subaru. Seeing the adorable Puck, he asked to stroke Puck's chin like a pet cat. Soon Ram and Rem came to inform them that a man named Roswal L. Mathers had arrived. Then they all went to the meeting room to welcome his arrival. Arriving there, at first, Subaru thought that Roswal was a clown, but it turned out that he was the owner of that magnificent residence. Then they eat together. Roswal tells who he is and tells about Amelia. He also said that the king of Lugunica had disappeared and his whereabouts were still unknown. As a result, the city needed a new king, and Amelia was one of the candidates for the king's successor. The future king candidates had to have the badge like what Felt stole yesterday, while Roswal would be Amelia's political supporter. Since the badge could still be returned, Subaru asked her for a very high reward, namely that he wanted to work in that magnificent house. Subaru tried changing his clothes into butler clothes, but they were all too big. Rem measures his body so that she can sew his clothes. After that, Subaru was invited to tour the house until there was a door to the toilet, but when it was opened, it connected to Beatrice's room instead. After walking around, Subaru was also invited to work because he had a lot of work. In the afternoon, Subaru's work was finished. Not long after, Rem came with a shirt that had been sewn. Now only the pants were left, but Subaru chose to sew his pants. Seeing that, Rem was amazed at him. But when it comes to peeling potatoes, he can't do it. He loses when compared to Ram. In the evening, Roswal calls Rem and Ram to ask their opinion about Subaru. He is worried that Subaru is a spy from his political opponents. On the other hand, Subaru was seen talking to Amelia in the garden. When she sees his injured hand, she offers to heal it, but he refuses. Then Subaru teased Amelia with his sweet words and took her on a tour of the park together tomorrow. She accepts it on the condition that all his work must be finished. The next morning when he woke up, Rem and Ram were already in his room. They also called Subaru by the title of Master, even the wound on his hand had disappeared. He realized this was a repeat of what happened the first time he was there. He runs tearfully into the library to meet Beatrice. He told Beatrice what happened. She gave suggestions that made Subaru feel helped. After that, Subaru left and met Amelia and Puck, who had just woken up. Then they ate with Roswal and asked to work in the mansion again. But this time, when choosing the outfit, Rem didn't measure Subaru's body. While Subaru was soaking in hot water, Roswal, taking a bath with him, asked about his familiarity with the twin maids. After that, Ram came to give Roswal underwear and towels. She also asked Subaru to meet her in his room. Arriving in the room, Ram approached him. It turned out that Ram told Subaru to learn to read and provide basic training first. Subaru didn't waste it because it might come in handy in the future. After studying for a while, Ram fell asleep. The next day, the clothes for Subaru were ready. He even commented on the uniforms worn by the twin maids. After that, the three of them went to the kitchen to cook. Unknowingly, Rem was always watching Subaru. Even when she was cutting the grass, she was still looking at him too. Ram also invites Rem to shave Subaru's hair. While Subaru was cleaning the hot spring pool, Rem came over to apologize for her words that had offended him. Subaru didn't mind that either. He just asked her to brush his hair. In the afternoon, Subaru was invited by Rem to go shopping. It seemed that he was very popular among the small children in the village. After that, they went home. On the way, the two of them talked about Ram and the lessons he had learned. Actually, Subaru was a little confused by the attitude of the twin maids, especially when Rem suddenly smiled sweetly at him. In the evening, Amelia sees Subaru studying. He felt awkward at being watched by her. Without further ado, he immediately asked her for a date tomorrow. Actually, she still couldn't believe him, but because he insisted, she finally accepted. Hearing this, Subaru immediately shouted with joy. After Amelia left, Subaru decided to stay up late to find out what was going on, so he had to repeat the initial scene repeatedly. After waiting a long time, he couldn't hold back his drowsiness and accidentally fell asleep. It wasn't long before Subaru woke up. He felt that the atmosphere around him became cold. Afterward, he felt nauseous and wanted to vomit until he finally left the room to seek help. Suddenly, he heard the sound of chains, then someone immediately attacked him until his arm was cut off. Subaru winced in pain, then he was killed by the figure. In the morning, Subaru woke up and returned to the previous scene. He visited Beatrice in the library and thought about the previous events while surrounding Beatrice sitting. He still doesn't know who the culprit is, and everyone in the house must also be targeted by this figure. Because Subaru was too loud for her, Beatrice told him to get out and pushed his body into the garden. Then he met Amelia and Puck, who had just woken up from sleep. Seeing Subaru's dirty body, Puck immediately cleaned his body roughly with water. Seeing that, Amelia just laughed. Soon the twin maids came to announce Roswell's arrival. As they ate together, it was time for Subaru to decide on a new path for him to take. Finally, now Subaru chose to be a regular guest instead of working there. He thought about starting his investigation by looking around and meeting up with Roswell. In the afternoon, he came up with a plan, then Ron came and brought him a cup of tea. After that, Subaru went to Beatrice to the library to inquire about the magic that had attacked him in his sleep. She replies that there is, but it might not be magic but a curse. Even crueler than that was sucking mana from one's body, just like Beatrice did when electrocuting his body. It turned out to be a rare skill Subaru was able to gain too, but he didn't believe it. Not long after, Subaru reassembled the information he had gathered. Even he ordered Puck to protect Amelia. Not long after, Ron came and brought a cup of tea into his room. Then she asked what Subaru had learned, and then he told her about the red and blue demon story. After Subaru had spoken at length, Ron gave a choice of who Subaru would choose as a friend with the demons, but he chose both. When Subaru was about to continue his story again, Ron got up and asked him not to tell Rem about it. After a few days of staying, Subaru decided to leave the stately residence. He said goodbye to all of them, then Amelia ushered him to the front of the gate. Then he climbed a hill in the forest to find the right position and was seen carrying a knife from the kitchen. In the afternoon, Subaru got into action. Sure enough, someone had attacked him. Luckily, he had prepared himself beforehand, so he tried to hold it and pull the chain so he could find out who it was. As a result, Subaru could see the figure who turned out to be Rem. Though Rem almost managed to kill Subaru, he used his cell phone to escape. While running, Rem attacked him until his leg was severed, but she stopped the bleeding. She wanted to get information from him because they thought he was a spy. All this time, the two maids had been doing good things to him, just pretending, when actually, they both hated him. Hearing that, Subaru burst into tears and felt very sad because he, who knew nothing, was slandered and even betrayed. It wasn't long before he finally died. The same thing happened again when Subaru woke up from his sleep. Now he looked scared of Ram and Rem. Not long after, Amelia walked over to him. Seeing her, Subaru wanted to tell her how he felt right now that he had died several times. Suddenly time stopped, and a black hand touched his body until he felt pain. Not long after, Beatrice came to his room which was ordered by Amelia. She wanted to check on his condition but smelled the witch's scent on his body. Hearing that, Subaru enlisted her help to look after him for just one day. She wants to help him and make a pact. That night while he was sleeping, Subaru had a bad dream. Suddenly, he was comforted by someone who touched his hand. When he woke up, he was already in the library with Beatrice, who kicked him straight away. Subaru still doesn't understand why she's there, so he asks if she was the one holding his hand in his sleep. However, it wasn't her. Then, Beatrice told Subaru to read a book instead. It wasn't long before someone called her. Shortly afterward, she told him to stay. However, he didn't listen to her and ventured out of the library. He felt that this time, he had made it through everything. Soon afterward, Amelia arrived, asking him to follow her, but she put on an unusual face. Arriving there, Ram's screams were heard. When Subaru looked at her in her room, it turned out Rem had died. He was surprised as to why things had turned out like this. Roswell explains that there is a curse that attacks her while she is asleep. Just like in the first incident, Ram suddenly attacked and told Subaru to tell him what really happened. Of course, Subaru couldn't explain it. Even Roswell stepped in and was about to kill him. Thankfully, because Beatrice had a contract to protect Subaru, so he was protected by her. Afraid that something might happen, Amelia asked him to tell them what he knew, but he couldn't say anything. He decided to run away from there and head for the ravine at the top of the hill. At first, he wanted to kill himself, but he could not do it. Suddenly, he finally fainted. After he woke up, Beatrice was there. She will continue to protect Subaru. She also wants to help him get out of the area. Suddenly, Subaru remembered the figure touching his hand in the dream. It turned out to be Ram and Rem. After understanding everything, he thought about taking the right path. As soon as Ram appeared, filled with anger, Subaru reiterated that he didn't know what had happened to Rem. Subaru only understood that he loved Ram and Rem so much, then he dared to jump off a cliff to kill himself. This scene was so cool. Long story short, Subaru returned to life and started everything from scratch again while in the room. Not long after, Ram and Rem appeared in his room, checking their hands to see whether they were the same as the person who touched them in the dream. After learning the truth, Subaru invites the two of them to be friends. It wasn't long before Amelia came to ask about his condition. While eating with Roswal and the others, Subaru asked to become a worker there again. This time, he will make Roswal, Ram, and Rem believe him. When Subaru finished washing his clothes, he relaxed while lying down in the garden. Then came Puck, who was relaxing while flying. Subaru asks him about Amelia's magic, but Puck explains that she is not a witch but a spirit controller. The difference is that magic has its own mana in one's body, but Amelia relies on the mana around her. Puck says that Subaru has magic power, which is dark magic. As he tried to cast magic from Subaru's body, he immediately felt an effect that made him feel terrified. But Subaru wants to learn it, so Puck tells him how to control mana in his body, but if it falls apart, the magic will explode. After trying it, Subaru's magic exploded. Puck asks him to practice controlling his magic. Suddenly, Subaru even remembers the work that should not be abandoned to make the twins believe in him. As a result, Amelia gave him a boca fruit to restore mana in his body. In the evening, Roswal asked Ram and Rem about Subaru, and they wanted to continue investigating his movements. Meanwhile, Subaru was in the library asking Beatrice about magic. She explains that there is a legendary witch named Satella. She is immortal and takes the form of a hybrid elf. That was why Amelia had once confessed that she was Satella and got angry when she was called by that name. The next morning, Subaru looked very excited. Then he met Amelia and Puck, who was in the park too, but he and Puck got into an unimportant argument. After that, Amelia pinched both of their ears. Subaru excused himself from going to work for fear of being late for work, but he felt not good. It was true that he was feeling indecisive and started to do things with compulsion and haste, so that his body becomes nauseous and he vomits in the bathroom. It turned out that Amelia followed him, then she led him into the room. Unexpectedly, she asked him to sleep on her lap. She also knew that there was something he didn't tell her, so Amelia persuaded Subaru to tell her all about him. After talking and crying, Subaru fell asleep on Amelia's lap. As soon as Rem entered the room and saw the two of them, Amelia told her that Subaru needed rest. As Rem was about to report to Ram, Amelia said that Subaru was a good person. When he woke up, Subaru went straight to Beatrice and told her he was very embarrassed because he had cried in front of Amelia. He also asked how he could be freed from the curse, and she said she couldn't if the curse had been activated. If the curse wasn't active, Beatrice could still save him. The way to transmit the curse is to make physical contact with the user. Then he gave his thanks by holding Beatrice in his arms. After that, Subaru went back to work. Now he was the talk of the town for having fallen asleep on Amelia's lap. It wasn't long before Amelia appeared to ask him how he was feeling, and he said he was feeling a little embarrassed, but he thanked her. When he returned to work, Subaru wanted to go to the village and shop at the same time, but Rem and Ram had scheduled it for tomorrow, but he still insisted on shopping that day so there would be more stock. As a result, Ram also allows it, but she will go shopping with him. Arriving at the market, Subaru invites the villagers to do morning exercises together. Seeing people feel happy to follow his movement. But Ram and Rem looked at them strangely, then the little kids teased the twin maids. After that, Subaru even appreciated the residents. Then there was a girl who looked gloomy and asked for his help. As a result, Ram allows Subaru to help her, who turns out to search for a dog that has fled into the forest. Luckily, the dog could still be found, but Subaru was bitten by the dog instead. Arriving at the house, Roswal looks neat and is about to meet someone. He won't come home early and tell Ram and Rem to look after his house, including Subaru. After that, Subaru went to Beatrice again to ask if there was a curse on his body, since several people in the village had previously touched him. She was forced to help him, and after seeing it, it turned out that the curse was on his hand from the little dog earlier. Subaru was reminded of several small children, so he returned to the village and took one of the twins with him. Ram told Rem to come with Subaru, then Amelia appeared and allowed it, then she hoped he could return home safely. After that, they left. When they got there, it was true that the residents were looking for the missing children, and Subaru headed straight for the place where they last met. Rem tried to search, and the children were seen heading towards the forest. Subaru asked all the citizens to gather there, as there was no other choice. Only Rem and Subaru could make it. After all, Subaru was very close to the little ones, to the point where he knew their ideals. As a result, Rem wanted to help him and had prepared her weapon. But when they entered the forest, it only took her a moment to find the whereabouts of the little children. A girl is still awake and says one child is in the forest. As a result, Subaru ventured into the forest. Previously, Subaru promised Rem that he would return soon because there were many things he wanted to ask Rem and Ram. While in the forest, Subaru felt something near the child's body. It was true. He saw a red-eyed dog demon nearby. Subaru immediately attacked the dog by thrusting the dog's body into a sharp tree trunk. When he was about to leave, it turned out that there were still a lot of dog demons. Fortunately, Rem came there. She tried to fight that many dogs while looking for an opening so they could all escape. In the end, Rem had to save Subaru from the attack. Rem bounced, but soon she got back up, then a horn appeared on her forehead, and her gaze began to change to that of a demon. When the dog was about to attack her, now it was Subaru who was willing to help her. Instantly, the demon's horn disappeared, until it was he who was bitten by the demons until he was unconscious. Long story short, Subaru woke up from fainting and was in his room. He thought he was dead, but Emilia was waiting for him, and Puck, who had just woken up, also appeared. Subaru immediately recounted what had happened to them while in the forest. Suddenly he remembered the condition of the little children, so he chose to go out. Then he met Ram, who was carrying boiled sweet potatoes. Because Subaru was hungry and asked for her sweet potatoes, Ram forced the sweet potatoes into his mouth and thanked him for protecting Rem. Then Ram distributed the boiled sweet potatoes to the villagers while Subaru was busy looking for the whereabouts of the small children there. After that, Subaru met Beatrice at the gate, and he thanked her for being healed. She tells him that he has half a day left because he has too many curse bites on his body, so she can't heal him. Beatrice suggested that Subaru kill the dog, which cursed him quickly before it activated the curse, but she saw that he was not afraid of death. Then he asks Beatrice where Rem is. It turns out that Rem went to find the whereabouts of the dog so that she could save Subaru. Not long after that, Ram appeared and overheard their conversation. As a result, he wanted to go find Rem, but Subaru held her back and tried to calm her down because he was going there too. Subaru asked about Ram's strength, as he thought they were both the same, but it turned out that Ram had no horns. Before leaving, the villagers gave him the best sword in that village. Arriving in the middle of the forest, Ram did a vision through the animals around. She sensed someone was coming, and it was true that the dog demons had come again. But he easily killed the dogs with one hit, then they continued their journey again. On the way, Subaru asked about the difference between Ram and Rem, and why Ram didn't have horns when they were of the same race. Ram still couldn't tell him why her horn was broken. She only said they should have been killed because they were twins and only had one horn, which is a source of misfortune. However, because their power was extraordinary, their tribe didn't kill them. Instantly, Subaru had the idea of saying the forbidden word, which was to say that he could return by death, so that Rem could detect the smell of magic on his body. But what came instead was the demon dogs until Ram ran out of a lot of energy to fight. Then Subaru chose to flee while carrying Ram's body and jumped into the abyss. Luckily, Ram was able to bring out the last of her strength, so they could land safely. When their position was cornered and surrounded by dog demons at the bottom of the abyss, Rem appeared with a demon horn and a scary face. But Rem looks like she lost her mind, so she attacks Ram instead. Not long after, the dog demons attacked Rem, causing a fight between them. Subaru used the opportunity to escape and take Ram's body. While running, he turned around and saw Rem was cornered. He immediately utters another forbidden word, making Rem show her anger again. Ram tells the way to stop her, namely by cutting her horns. As a result, Subaru resorted to a slightly rough approach by throwing Ram's body in front of Rem to distract her, while he tried to cut off her horn from behind. Afterward, it is told when Ram and Rem were born. In the past, the two of them were almost about to be killed because they were twins and only had one horn, while their race had two horns. But the two babies emitted extraordinary strength. After growing up, Ram shows their strength that can help the citizens, while Rem still can't control her power to become as strong as her. Even though she had been trained by Ram, the results were still the same, so she chose another skill, namely cooking. The next day, Rem looked for beans and rabbits to cook, but the weather was cloudy. Then it rained with thunder, which almost made her get hit by lightning. Luckily, Ram came on time and saved her. At that time, she failed again to show her abilities. But since then, Rem decided not to compete with Ram anymore. At night while sleeping, Rem felt something strange. When she looked outside, she saw that their village was on fire, and when outside, she was almost killed by the cultists who burned their village. Fortunately, Ram was able to save Rem, but there was someone who cut her horns until her strength instantly disappeared. Then Roswal appeared to save them. After that incident, the two of them were employed at Roswal's residence. The scene moves into the forest again. Ram and Subaru were seen holding Rem's body while chased by the dog demons. Rem was still feeling guilty, and as if everything was her fault, Subaru told her to calm down and not act alone. Now it was Subaru's turn to face the dog demon while the two of them were ordered to run away by him. Finally, he got into action. Coincidentally, the dog was in front of him, but suddenly it turned into a giant. Seeing that, he tried to use the magic Puck had taught him. Unfortunately, it still couldn't kill the monster. When Subaru was cornered, Roswal came to his aid. He was forced to come there due to being forced by Emilia. Seeing Subaru safe, Rem was overjoyed and hugged him. When he woke up the next morning, Subaru saw her beside him. She was still apologizing and feeling dissatisfied with herself. As a result, he gave her advice and managed to lighten her mood. In the evening, Roswaal asks Rom for information about the true perpetrator, but she lost her track. He feels that currently, his side is always in trouble, but he will continue to try to get Emilia to reach the throne so that he can achieve his wish. On the other hand, Emilia found it strange because recently Subaru was always getting hurt, but when she was about to help him, Puck was always getting in the way. Subaru instead asked her out on a date tomorrow while walking around the village. The next morning, the two of them went to the village and asked the residents to do morning exercises again, after which they went home. Arriving at the house, Roswaal had a guest named Felix Argale with a male coach named Wilhelm van Astria. Rom told Subaru and Emilia that the person who had come was someone related to the successor to the throne. Subaru had wanted to come and meet the guest, but she forbade him. He finally found Wilhelm, wiping the horse carriage for information by bringing him some tea. But Felix appeared, so they stopped talking. She told him that Emilia was talking about him at the meeting earlier. After that, Subaru went to Emilia to ask about the discussion with Felix. She explained that she needed to go to the city immediately for a meeting, but Subaru begged to come with her. Roswaal finally agreed. On the way, Wilhelm told Felix that he was attracted to Subaru because he felt that Subaru had faced death several times. Long story short, Emilia and Subaru had arrived in town. She didn't want to let go of his hand because she feared he would do something stupid. Behind them was a Kadomon fruit shop, so Subaru bought an apple and continued on his way. Arriving at the entrance, a male knight named Julius immediately kissed Emilia's hand, making Subaru jealous. But just as they were about to enter, she told him to wait for her outside the gate. Soon after, Subaru saw a woman named Priscilla Bariel, who was being bullied by the thugs who had bullied her. He tried to get up the courage and trick them. Rom suddenly appeared and made them run away, then asked where Felt was. Subaru simply replied that Felt was brought by Reinhard, and then Rom left. After that, Emilia came with a male soldier named Aldebaran, who was Priscilla's bodyguard. She seemed to be telling Subaru something, while Priscilla asked for his apple, then they left. On the way, Emilia asked where Subaru had found Priscilla, and her face became serious. Arriving at Roswaal's residence, Emilia ordered Subaru and Rem to guard the house while she wanted to go alone and didn't want to involve anyone. But Subaru insisted on going with her. However, Emilia still wanted to go alone and made a pact so that she could go alone. When Emilia was gone, Subaru still hadn't given up on joining. He was worried that something might happen to her. Rem finally told where Emilia had gone. After that, Subaru hurried off. On the way, Subaru meets Priscilla and gets a ride. While in the horse carriage, Aldebaran explains that Priscilla is the successor to the throne, aka Emilia's political opponent. But they had no problem with Subaru going there. Once there, Emilia immediately looked at Subaru, who had come with Priscilla. Emilia was angry because he didn't listen to her words. But since it was about to start, they didn't have much time left to chase him away. As a result, Roswaal allowed him to follow them. Not long after the Congress started, Reinhard, Julius, and Felix were also present. And here, it was revealed that Felix was actually a man. They started by telling the history that had happened to the kingdom, but some oppose it because they already know the real story. Since there were supposed to be 5 candidates, then Reinhard had brought another candidate, Felt, so there would be 5 candidates. Even though she was nominated to be the successor to the throne, she didn't seem interested in the event. Reinhard confirmed that Felt deserved to be the ruler by showing the badge she was holding lit up. But they seemed to doubt that, and so did the other nominees. After that, the candidates expressed their respective visions and missions. Then there was a debate because Emilia was considered to be a descendant of Satella, a witch. Because Subaru was annoyed, he finally let out a very loud voice and confessed that he was Emilia's knight. Julius immediately objected to his statement, for he didn't look like a knight. Then Emilia took Subaru out of the room. She said that he was not her bodyguard, but when the program was about to resume, suddenly smoke appeared from under the floor. Suddenly, someone appeared who turned out to be Rom, but he was immediately arrested and threatened with the death penalty. Felt couldn't do anything and couldn't give orders because, previously, she didn't want to run for the king's successor. As a result, for Rom's sake, she was willing to join the nomination. Then the guards took him out of the room. Shortly after, Felt expressed her vision and mission, which looked scary and ambitious, so the election ceremony was officially opened. On the other hand, Reinhard and Felix had visited Subaru to cheer him up. But Julius also appears and invites Subaru to a sword duel. Subaru immediately agrees. He did that because Subaru had brought down the dignity of the knights. As a result, Subaru was completely beaten by him in the duel arena. One of the guards who noticed this immediately reported it. Then Emilia headed there because the fight was not balanced. Even though he was already battered, Subaru tried to get up and cast his magic but was unfortunately still weak. After that, Emilia arrived, and then he fell unconscious. Upon awakening, Subaru was already in his room, and Emilia was in front of him. She said she was very disappointed in him, who was stubborn and wouldn't listen to her. Emilia couldn't believe it anymore. Even she asked if Subaru was doing it for her sake or for himself. When he was about to tell the truth, even he couldn't because a black hand touched him, which made Emilia very angry and disgusted with Subaru. With that said, for the good of both, Emilia decided to free Subaru so that the two wouldn't be tied down, and then she left. When he recovered, Subaru practiced swordsmanship with Wilhelm. On the other hand, Felix and a woman named Crush were chatting about the problem Julius had just faced because he had been punished. Then Subaru met Reinhard. He regretted not separating them when they were fighting, so now Julius was punished. Reinhard advised him to make peace, but Subaru didn't want to make peace at all. Shortly after, Subaru went inside to continue his training again until he passed out. When he woke up in the afternoon, Subaru was already in Rem's lap. She invited him for a walk tomorrow because she had always been home for 3 days. The next day Subaru went to town with Rem. They both saw posters of potential successors to the throne. After that, Katomon came and thought he didn't like Emilia because the people were sensitive to hybrid elves who were always associated with witches. After a long walk in the city, they finally came home. Arriving home, Subaru meets Crush, who wants to talk to him over a drink. She asked about Subaru's healing. Besides that, he also got good advice from Felix and Crush, so he got new ideas. The next morning Subaru trained again with Wilhelm. Suddenly, Rem came to see him and brought an important piece of information. She told him that there was something odd around Roswell's house area. Hearing that, Subaru asked Crush for help, but she refused. As a result, he wanted to go home right then and there, but she forbade it because there was still a contract between them. If he broke the contract, then Crush would become Emilia's enemy. Felix also told Subaru to stay there before the healing was complete because if he went home, it would be useless. However, he still chose to go and borrow Wilhelm's carriage. It took 2 days of travel to get there. In the evening, Rem invites Subaru to stay at an inn. Subaru looks like he can't sleep, then Rem goes into his room to talk. Suddenly, she hugged him, giving him a light that made him feel sleepy and fall asleep. When Subaru woke up, it was noon. He immediately looked for Rem, but she was not there. Subaru asked a man who was the owner of the inn, and he said that Rem left last night and left a letter for him. As a result, Subaru looked for a vehicle to rent, but they all refused. Not long after, he met Otto Suin, who was willing to accompany him. On the way, the horse suddenly stopped. Subaru thought there was something dangerous ahead and asked for a turnaround. They were already in Mather's territory, for it would soon be until Subaru finally decided to go alone by walking. In the middle of the journey, the atmosphere became quiet, and people in robes who remained silent appeared. When the morning came, he was able to arrive at the village and headed for Roswell's house. As he walked through the village, Subaru saw countless corpses lying there. Suddenly, he remembered Rem and headed straight for Roswell's house. Arriving there, Subaru saw Rem had been killed. He tried to get into the house, and it looked very lonely. Then he saw that there was Ram and a girl named Petra who died horribly. Subaru headed to Emilia's room, and he found there was a secret door. He tried to follow the direction of the door headed downwards with damp and so cold air that he froze, and finally, he died there. Shortly after, Subaru returned and was in front of Katomon's shop. He saw that Rem was there too, but he felt weak after seeing what happened in the future. Subaru looks more and more like a lunatic. After Felix checks, there is no problem, but Rem sees an evil aura on his face. Since Subaru had been experiencing this for days, she returned to Roswell's house. Before leaving, Crush briefly asked why Rem seemed to care about Subaru so much, like a couple. She replies that Subaru is special to her, and they leave. On the way, the atmosphere is very quiet. Rem felt that something was off, and sure enough, the animal that was pulling their carriage was suddenly killed. It was the work of the robed people or the witch sect. They tried to take Subaru, but Rem got in the way. She has a personal grudge against the witch sect for breaking Ram's horn and burning her village. Unfortunately, they managed to take Subaru away, even though she tried her best to fight, but Rem still lost him. Arriving at the witch sect, Subaru meets a madman named Beetlejuice. He tried to ask Subaru something, but because Subaru was still insane, he didn't answer anything. After that, Beetlejuice ordered his men to clean up the scene, while he would ask Subaru again. He tried to ask nonchalantly, but Subaru's condition worsened, and he became depressed. Annoyed, Beetlejuice banged Subaru's head against the wall. Suddenly came Rem, who was furious at seeing Subaru being tortured. She killed Beetlejuice's men but was hit by Beetlejuice's attack, so she was hanged and spun around. As Rem was dying, Subaru had just woken up and was furious with Beetlejuice, but he ignored it and continued his plan. It turned out that Rem was still able to move and approach Subaru. She released the chains that bound his body, and she died. Afterward, he carried her body away. Arriving at the village, Subaru saw that many people had died. Now, it was too late for him to help them. When he arrived in front of Roswell's house, it suddenly snowed. He also saw a giant cat, and then Subaru died again. After that, Subaru reappeared in front of Katomon's fruit shop. This time he could control himself and took Rem away by holding her hand. There was a look of anger on Subaru's face. They arrived at Crush's house in the late afternoon. Soon after, they met a man named Russell talking to Wilhelm, but he ignored it and went straight in to meet Crush. He informed that a witch sect would invade Roswell's territory. Crush had predicted that something like this would happen if Amelia ran for the election. Subaru turned to Crush for help since she was the only one he could work with. Because she was still under contract with Amelia, she would help Amelia when she withdrew from the candidacy. However, Subaru was confused when Crush disagreed. She instead asked about what advantages she would get when Amelia backed off. She asked Subaru and speculated that he was part of the witches since he knew when they would attack. He immediately became angry but prostrated himself for Crush's help. But she still didn't want to help him. He finally left her. Subaru and Rem also talked about finding a way out of the problem. Moreover, Roswell was not at home while Reinhard was on assignment. As a result, Subaru went to Rem for help and would seek another help tomorrow. In the morning, Subaru asked Priscilla for help, but she asked him to kiss her feet first, then she would consider it. Just as he was about to kiss her feet, Priscilla actually felt disgusted with him for being judged too lowly. She immediately ordered Aldebaran to take him out of her room. On his way home, Subaru met Mimi Pearlbutton and a woman named Anastasia Hoshin. Subaru tries to negotiate with her, and in the end she gives an introduction letter to get a land dragon. Anastasia easily wants to help him, but before he was given, she invited him to have a conversation which eventually led to the arms business and the treasurer Russell. After being told that, Anastasia got important information about Crush related to Russell. Subaru has now realized he was just being used for information by her. Not long after that, Rem came. Everyone refuses to help Subaru because no one believes it yet due to a lack of evidence regarding a witch sect. As a result, both of them will stay there. This time on the way, they met Otto, who was sad because his merchandise had not been sold in the market, and his business might go bankrupt. Then Subaru hired all the land dragons owned by Otto to move the villagers to a safer place. On the way, Rem asked to be shown the map. Because it was dark, Subaru also illuminated it using his cell phone. After that, they passed an old flugel tree, which had been planted centuries ago. But suddenly, the person by Subaru's side began to disappear, and Otto didn't notice it. Not long after, there was a mist that enveloped them. There was a gigantic monster as Subaru flashed his cell phone in front of him. The monster emitted very thick smoke, and the monster was called a white whale. Rem, Subaru, and Otto kept getting annoyed by the white whale. Rem tried to fight it off to slow down its movement, but the white whale was still chasing her, and there was a moment when she had a plan to descend from the dragon and would get in the way of the white whale. Subaru seemed disapproving of her plan, but Rem knocked him unconscious and jumped from there. Upon awakening, Subaru immediately looked for Rem's whereabouts, but Otto said she had jumped, and now the two of them were safe because the white whale wasn't chasing anymore. Knowing that, Subaru was furious and asked Otto to come back again. But Otto refused his request because even the first sword saint alone could be defeated by the white whale. Deep down, Subaru was still worried about Rem. Not long after, Otto couldn't remember who Rem was, making Subaru angry. When the two of them argued, a white whale was seen chasing them. Subaru thought that the whale was aiming for him and was attracted by his smell. As a result, Otto pushed him away and left him. Soon the atmosphere began to change. Subaru started walking again and encountered the land dragon, but Otto was already dead. The next day Subaru arrived at the Mathers border and met the small village children. This time he wasn't late, but he immediately fainted. When he wakes up, he is already at Roswell's house and immediately asks where Rem is. Afterward, Rom asking for an explanation of what had happened to Subaru and Amelia. Subaru tells about Rem who had died and he couldn't help her while crying. But here, she instead says, "Who is Rem?" Rom doesn't know Rem because she doesn't feel like she has a younger sister named Rem. Hearing that, Subaru was taken aback. Even Rom explained that the events that had happened so far had nothing to do with the person named Rem. Curious, Subaru headed straight for Rem's room. Sure enough, it was empty. Even Subaru had no idea what the situation had been all along. He needed to get out of there, and then he took the courage to go to Amelia's room. He tried to get her out of there, but she didn't understand what he meant. Despite being forced, Amelia still didn't want to go with Subaru. Then he told Amelia about Rem. Of course, she didn't know who Rem was. Subaru finally burst into tears and tried to speak the forbidden words again. But now he felt no pain, but Amelia was hit by the attack and died. Soon Beatrice arrived. Subaru said he couldn't stand being there anymore, so he asked Beatrice to kill him because he didn't want to get involved. Afterward, she sent him through a portal in the middle of the forest. Not long after, the sects of witches and Beetlejuice appeared. He felt very happy that Amelia had been killed. Just as he was about to torture Subaru with his black hand, he dodged, but Beetlejuice managed to catch Amelia. Not long after, Puck appeared, immediately angry, killing whoever was down there. Suddenly, he was hit by Beetlejuice's black hand, but he was still able to save himself and turned into a giant cat. Instantly, Puck turned the weather into the snow to make everything around him freeze. Puck said that he lives for Amelia. If she is dead, then he feels his life is empty. After that, Subaru died from a book, and he heard Beetlejuice's laughter sound like it was inside him. Shortly after, Subaru got up again and was in front of Kadomon's shop. He immediately led Rem away from that place and had a conversation. Then he took her and asked her to leave the city of Lugunica to start a new life together. And here is one of the best scenes of this anime. Rem understands Subaru's intention to run away together and to live life as a husband and wife. Rem even tells her beautiful wish and ideal life to Subaru as they both grow old together with their children until the end. However, even so, she can't accept the Subaru who run away. Rem asked Subaru to tell her what was going on. Subaru explained that he had lost his identity and now he could do nothing but cause trouble. Besides, when he arrived in the Isekai world, he didn't have any abilities, just like what happened in the real world. Rem tried to reassure him that he had done so many good things that she believed him. She invited Subaru to start with her again, but he replied that he loved Amelia. Subaru asks Rem for help to start over again. Rem said that she will gladly help him. After that, Subaru tried to negotiate with Crush again. Now that he was about to kill the white whale, Wilhelm gave off his aura of emotion. Subaru would give away a portion of Roswell's mining area in exchange. It was really hard to get Crush to believe it, but he had evidence on his cell phone, so he could tell when the white whale appeared. Not long after Anastasia and Russell arrived, they got an invitation from Rem. They persuaded Crush to accept Subaru's offer, then she accepted it. On the other hand, Wilhelm thanked Subaru for giving him a chance to take revenge on the white whale, because his wife, the Sword Saint, was killed by the white whale. Since there was little time left, Crush's troops had gathered and gotten ready. Soon Felix arrived, who told him about Wilhelm and his wife the first Sword Saint. Then he told Subaru to sleep and rest. The next day Felix asked Subaru to choose the land dragon he would use. Subaru chose the dragon that Wilhelm had ridden before. During the gathering, Anastasia's land dragon comes in the form of a wolf and looks like a mercenary. Then Crush came. Subaru told her that even though he didn't have the power, he had the smell of a witch that could invite the white whale to come. They thanked Subaru, then they spoke with Wilhelm. Because there wasn't much time, Crush gave a few speeches and suggestions about the plans they would make now. On the way, Subaru meets a small female cat demon named Mimi and Hataro, who is a commander. Then the two of them chatted with Anastasia's wolf named Ricardo. Long story short, Subaru and his group arrived at their destination. They set up a war camp and rested for a while. On the other hand, Subaru and Rem were playing under the flugel tree. Rem still couldn't believe that the white whale would come there, but with complete devotion, she tried to trust Subaru. Then they both saw Wilhelm looking at the yellow flower garden. He recalled that his wife was very happy to see flowers. Wilhelm also talked about his past and thanked Subaru once again for having the opportunity to fight against the white whale. Shortly afterward, the troops were ready to stand guard while waiting for Subaru's alarm to sound. Soon his alarm went off, and sure enough, the white whale came. Rem immediately attacked it, and all the troops joined the attack on the white whale. After that, Wilhelm, at the forefront, also cooperated with Ricardo to draw their swords at the white whale's body to take its eyes. But the whale was getting increasingly furious. Its eyes changed color and emitted thick smoke and an echoing sound. Rem tried to escape the place, but they both heard the voices of the soldiers who had died on the battlefield. Rem was almost hit by the whale attack. Luckily, she was able to dodge. Then they tried to gather the remaining soldiers, and Crush rearranged her plans. Then a white whale's screeching sound was heard, weakening the people around it. Subaru agreed to be the white whale's bait and asked Crush to rework his plans. He immediately uttered the forbidden word again, so the witch's scent on his body grew stronger and provoked the white whale to attack him. Luckily, Rem quickly responded and immediately stabbed the whale, followed by Wilhelm and Ricardo. It turned out that other troops also helped close the whale's smoke hole while Wilhelm managed to break the white whale's horn. After that, there was silence, but suddenly the whale appeared from above and sent them all flying. Unfortunately, Wilhelm couldn't escape, so he had to be swallowed by the whale while Subaru was still able to be saved by Ricardo. The situation seems to be getting worse. There are several giant whales there, but Subaru and Rem didn't want to give up so easily. She kept trying to attack the white whale. Crush also seemed to still want to help along with her troops. Everything happened unexpectedly, and the white whale increased to 3. Subaru continued to distract the whales and had Mimi escort him. On the other hand, Ricardo seems still alive, thanks to Felix's help. Subaru tried to think again until he finally realized something. Rem, Mimi, and Hataro tried to get Wilhelm out of the white whale's body, but after succeeding, Wilhelm was unconscious. Subaru, who had a plan, came up to Crush again. Actually, the whale split itself into three, while the whale's original body was the one at the top avoiding battles, which means they only need to kill that one whale. He also presented a high-risk plan. Hearing that, Crush had no choice but to accept it. She said that she would take care of the two whales while he would take on the real whale. On the other hand, the soldiers, who were still confused about what to do, just stared at the whale from below. Not long after, Crush again encouraged them not to lose to Subaru, who was weaker than them. Hearing that, the soldiers seemed excited again and took the fight. Now that Subaru was ready with his plan, Rem sent him up there and mounted the real whale's body. After that, he plunged from above, repeating the forbidden words, which made his smell as a witch even stronger, so the whale followed him again. Soon afterward, Rem directly stabbed the whale while the other soldiers tried to uproot the flugel tree so that the whale's body was crushed by the tree. Finally, the plan was successful and closed with Wilhelm's revenge for his wife by killing the white whale using his sword. With that, the white whale was defeated. However, Subaru still seemed unable to calm down. Soon Crush came to him. She was very grateful and called Subaru a white whale exterminator hero. Then the two of them are now friends. They said that if one of them is having trouble, they will be ready to help each other. Crush knew that Subaru's journey wasn't over yet. He still needed soldiers. Afterward, Wilhelm came, and he was ready to give his service in helping Subaru's journey. Shortly after, Rem still wanted to stay with Subaru. However, she needed to heal first and came with Crush. As a result, because it was Subaru's order, Rem was willing to follow Crush first. Ricardo knew that Subaru's next destination was the witch sect. He had also brought in an army which turned out to be Julius and his friends. Julius also joined Subaru's team but doesn't want to be called Julius because he's being paid. He wants to be called Julie, then he asks how Subaru is, who looks healthy. After that, Subaru gave instructions to everyone. Wilhelm thought that the appearance of the white whale was accompanied by the emergence of a witch sect, so his speculations were not wrong. Subaru had sent a letter to evacuate the citizens, so they set off. On the way, he spoke with Julius, and the two decide to make peace. Even so, in his heart, he still hated Julius. On the other hand, Emilia and Puck looked exhausted after setting up the barrier in the border area. Meanwhile, Subaru began to emit a magical smell that caused sects of witches to start arriving. Afterward, he met Beetlejuice. He tried to buy time by talking to him. When Beetlejuice asks for the book that should belong to a sect of witches, Subaru doesn't have it either, so Beetlejuice gets angry and attacks him. Suddenly, Mimi and Hitaro destroyed Beetlejuice's headquarters, followed by Wilhelm, who directly attacked Beetlejuice using his sword. Soon after that, Mimi even looks for the things that Beetlejuice brought, then she finds there is a book that scares her. Turned out that the book was taken by Subaru. It contained evidence that they were followers of a witch sect. During the gathering, Julius said he had finished off Beetlejuice's 2 fingers, which means the followers of Beetlejuice. But suddenly, a black hand appeared that attacked and killed several of their troops. Subaru was also hit by the hand attack until he was successfully withdrawn. It turned out that there was still a follower left that they hadn't noticed. That person was looking for the book whereabouts that Subaru had taken. Fortunately, Mimi and Hitaro came and were followed by Wilhelm, who instantly killed the man. It turned out that there were other creatures, and Subaru had the wrong strategy to make many troops die. Wilhelm encouraged him to keep fighting no matter what. As a result, Subaru got excited again and continued on his way to evacuate the villagers. On the way, Felix told Subaru to make up with Julius. He could sense that Subaru still hated him. As a result, he approached Julius, but soon the atmosphere changed, and Subaru was struck by an illusion from Ram. Luckily, a spirit helped him, and thankfully, Subaru returned to his senses. It turned out that all the troops were affected by the illusion of magic. Soon after, Julius approached Subaru and tried to insert his magic into Subaru's body, but it didn't work. Not long after, Ram appeared to take Subaru but was restrained by Wilhelm. Ram thought that Subaru had betrayed the Roswell family. Subaru made it clear that they were reinforcements to take down the witch sect. It turns out that the letter that Ram received is empty, which means inviting war, even though Subaru had not sent a blank letter. As a result, Ram understood that something was wrong. Arriving at the village, the residents seemed very nervous about the many soldiers. Subaru tried to calm them down and asked them to move as soon as possible. But the citizens still felt strange because everything was sudden. They even blamed Emilia for being the cause of the witch sects appearing. Felix tries to convince Subaru to keep convincing the citizens, and Ram helps him. Then Petra went to Subaru and asked about Emilia's condition because yesterday, she had asked the residents to evacuate, but no one would listen to her. Subaru said he would go to Emilia's residence and invite Julius, then he also invited Felix to join as a representative of Crush's side. Afterward, Felix manages to catch a cult of witches in disguise, but not long after, the vehicle explodes. Because of that, the atmosphere became chaotic as many members of the witch sect disguised themselves among the merchants and slipped through the horse carriages. Wilhelm tried to fight them alone, but they blew themselves up, so he fainted. On the other hand, other sect members appear. Now it's Subaru's turn to fish with their books, so they chase after him. Then he ran into the middle of the forest and removed Emilia's magic stone, causing the sect members to be attacked by the dog demons. Suddenly, another member of the witch sect came. Fortunately, Emilia came and helped Subaru. When he was about to get in the way of Emilia, Felix tried to convince him that Emilia could handle it, and Emilia and Puck managed to defeat the member. When Felix told Subaru to approach her, Julius' magic in his body was blown away. After that, Subaru felt something strange. He immediately ran away from them all into the forest, but Julius and Felix continued to follow him. It turned out that Subaru had been possessed by Beetlejuice, who managed to completely control his body. He couldn't even control himself anymore, so he asked Felix and Julius to kill him because there was no other way. Felix was compelled to do so. Julius took a stand and accepted the consequences of punishment. After that, Subaru seemed to be alive again and returned to the moment he was giving instructions to the troops. This time he already knew that Beetlejuice could possess his fingers, so he asked if there was such magic. Julius answered yes, but that magic belongs to ancient magic and is often used by sects of witches. Julius also suggested that they kill his fingers first before his real body. On the other hand, Subaru was still worried because he could be hit by those fingers and even be possessed by Beetlejuice. While Emilia seems to be having a bad dream, Puck is by her side when she wakes up. It seemed that she was still thinking about yesterday. She didn't know what to do next. Puck tells her to do everything according to her wishes. As Emilia left the room, she met Wilhelm and Ron, who told her that they would evacuate the entire village to be moved partly to the city and partly to the church. Long story short, while evacuating, the small children in the village still hadn't left. They took Emilia to ride in the same carriage, but she wasn't confident because she felt they would be afraid of her. Actually, Subaru was trying to get her closer to the villagers. He started with small children whom he persuaded to be close to Emilia, so she wanted to share a carriage with the children. On the other hand, Subaru managed to eradicate one of Beetlejuice's fingers. Apparently, they were using a device to monitor his fingers. Ricardo also beat his fingers, as did Mimi, who brought Otto. Subaru then divided his army into two teams. Wilhelm was in charge of guarding the citizens about to be evacuated, while the others went with Subaru to eradicate the rest there. Previously, Subaru had managed to take the people's trust in him and dodge the blank letter. He would carry out his final plan by visiting the Beetlejuice headquarters. He pretended to be Beetlejuice's fingers. They chatted about the day of torture that led to Emilia. Hearing this, Subaru couldn't hold back his emotions and ordered his land dragon to attack Beetlejuice. Then Beetlejuice became angry and immediately chased after Subaru's troops. Not long after, Mimi stopped them, and they were chased by Beetlejuice. They stopped at the location where Subaru had been killed. He had prepared an opponent for Beetlejuice, namely Julius. Beetlejuice became even angrier, especially when Julius could see his pseudo-hand. It happened thanks to Subaru transferring his vision to Julius by magic. On the other hand, Wilhelm's group had a bit of a problem, but they managed to overcome it. Meanwhile, Julius struggles against Beetlejuice until his body is hit by Beetlejuice's hands several times. When his position was cornered, Beetlejuice entered Subaru's body, who kept trying to get his forbidden words out. As a result, Subaru managed to get Beetlejuice out of his body and made him go berserk until he knocked down a rock cliff and it hit himself. Afterward, Subaru and his group had to return because of a problem. Felix received information that a bomb had been placed on the ground dragon that Emilia and the little children were traveling in, and the explosion could scorch a part of the village. Knowing this, Subaru panicked. Otto also had plans to catch up with them, but he wanted some compensation. Subaru agreed, and they were both ready to go. Subaru was given magic by Julius just in case, while Otto used 2 dragons and chose an extreme shortcut. But on the way, there was something strange, and it turned out to be Beetlejuice, who still hadn't given up on taking Subaru's body. On the other hand, Wilhelm's group was hindered by the witch sect's subordinates, but with his strength, he managed to defeat them one by one. Meanwhile, the small children on the carriage were frightened and hugged Emilia's body tightly. On the carriage, Subaru was still trying to fight Beetlejuice in various ways. He tries to throw oil at Beetlejuice and burn it using magic from Julius. In the end, Subaru wrote something down in the book and showed it to Beetlejuice, and finally, he died. Arriving in the forest, Subaru shouted at Wilhelm and asked where Emilia was. After Wilhelm told him, he immediately approached her. Then Subaru ordered all the dragons to stop, and he got into Emilia's carriage to retrieve the bomb inside the carriage. Afterward, he took the bomb towards the flugel tree and stuffed it inside the white whale's corpse. Because of the sound of an explosion, Emilia immediately followed him there. Luckily, he only fainted. When he woke up, Subaru was already on Emilia's lap. Afterward, he said he loved her very much, and all he had done was because he loved her so much. Unfortunately, Emilia couldn't accept Subaru yet, but he still won't give up. The last scene shows them both smiling at each other. This is the end of season 1 of this anime. The moral that can be learned is to keep fighting to protect those we love, even though we have to die several times.